Ladies and gentlemen, Lenny March here with Machine MMA. I am with one of your headliners, November 15th, Taz Makawa. He's fighting Stevie Lee. It's going to be a fantastic fight. Professional Cage Warriors, professional contract on the line. Do not miss it. First of all, Taz, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Machine MMA headliner. That's got to sound great. How does that feel, firstly?
It feels like a blessing, honestly, man. It's been a journey.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that journey, and we'll talk a little bit about, the experience of Machine MMA that you've had thus far. Two fights under our promotion. Firstly, how were them two fights? Talk to me about your experience of Machine MMA. How was it?
My experience has been good. From the moment, you arrive at Machine MMA, the way you're treated, everything is just great. It's a really good promotion to fight on. And in terms of the fights, there were challenges, there weren't easy matches, but through the grace of God and through determination, I was able to get through them.
Absolutely. Obviously, you're a champion thus far, and you're looking to step that up and compete for the British Championship against Stevie Lee November 15th. Should be a fantastic fight. I want to talk about your first four fights. Undefeated, perfect thus far. Talk to me a bit about them first four ones, especially your last one against Lawrence Colpin. Fantastic performance, beautifully executed. First round, ground and pound finish once again. Just talk to me a bit about your first four fights, and more importantly, your last one, which was the big one. Obviously, that got you to the test of where we are now.
It's been a learning curve. In terms of the fights, I couldn't have done it without God, and I couldn't have done it without my team. Because I just say with all of the fights, as you see, and the performances and the challenges, it was all due to preparation. That's how I was able to overcome, a lot of my opponents in these because they weren't easy opponents. They were hard opponents. I mean, I've had some strikers in there, if you can see, and I've also had some wrestlers in there. And it's the way we strategized around them that made me victorious over them.
Absolutely. I want to talk about November 15th in particular, obviously, because that's why we got you here, because we've got a fantastic fight between you and Stevie with that contract on the line. How did you first hear about this, this opportunity on Machine MMA, and more importantly, with Stevie Lee having that name on the paper? How did you hear about this opportunity first?
How I heard about it was first of all, I was kind of planning to defend a title. And obviously, and then my coach came to me and he said, Taz, there's been this challenge, it's a rose. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, to me, anything, to do with machine MMA, I like being involved. And funnily enough, the challenger was Stevie Lee, because we were already having a look at Stevie Lee before his name came up on this. I think one of his fights that he had prior was Rise and Conquer. So we was thinking about it was a fight that we were thinking about setting up in the future. So we were thinking about setting it up, and then it just presented itself. So that's literally how the destiny is pretty much going.
Yeah, perfect nail on the head there, Taz. I want to ask a little bit more about Stevie Lee in general. He's on a fantastic run thus far, like yourself. Can you share any thoughts on him as an opponent? I think he's a very tricky one, as well as you are. Talk to me a bit about Stevie Lee as an opponent. What do you expect on November 15th?
November 15th, he's a very tough opponent. I expect him to be aggressive. I expect him to be determined and to bring it, Like I can tell from how he fights, he works hard and he slows it down a bit. So for me, it's the challenge that I've always wanted because I've been saying it for a long time. I don't want to fight the easiest guys. I want war when I'm in there, and I want to fight people that are good.
You talked about there. You want war. Do you think Stevie Lee brings that on November 15th? And comes to, with what we're seeing from Stevie Lee, he likes to put his guard down. His elbows are very tight and looks to throw some bombs. Do you think Stevie Lee brings war on November 15th? Like you mentioned there, that's what you want.
Yeah, that's what I want. I believe. I believe he's a tough opponent, and I believe it's good for me to test myself like against him. Whether he brings war or not, I expect him to, but that's something that I guess we'll find out on the day.
Absolutely, that's a perfect response. November 15th. If you've not got your tickets, or once they go live, make sure you get your tickets because it's gonna be a fantastic fight between Stevie Lee and Taz Makawa. It's gonna be a fantastic Machine MMA 45 main event. Taz, before we kind of discuss some more, I'm still on the topic of Stevie Lee. Do you believe Stevie Lee is, the hardest challenger of your career thus far to date? I know you've had 4 fights. I know you had Cameron Amini, obviously in Machine MMA, but I feel like the pedigree that Stevie Lee has got thus far with all these belts. I think he's your hardest test, and you're his hardest test. Do you believe that also?
Truthfully, to be honest, I won't really know until, I get in there with him. But I guess on paper, as it is now, he is the toughest opponent for me to face, according to what he's achieved and, the type of fights that he's had. So, yeah, at the moment, as it stands on paper, I'd say he's 100% the toughest opponent that I'm going to face.
What I've noticed with this matchup is obviously Stevie Lee for lightweight is quite a short guy. I think he's okay for me saying that. And with you yourself, obviously being quite a tallish guy. If I'm correct in saying 6'1", 6 foot.
Yeah, yeah,
Do
around
you
6'3".
expect 6'3"? There we are. So I know. I remember watching your last fight on BFC. They said 6'1", so 6'3". So you're actually bigger than I thought you were. Um, do you see that size factor being a pivotal, a massive moment that, or maybe just changing the fight completely? Because obviously he's not expecting lightweight. Who's expecting to fight someone at lightweight who's 6'3"? Taz, I feel like you're a force to be reckoned with, a freak that is, a freak of nature. Do you feel like that size difference will be, too hard for Stevie to try and get in close and just sort of amount any sort of damage?
From an outside perspective, people would look at it as, yeah, size makes a difference, but I don't think when it comes to fighting, and especially at the standards we're at now, I don't think it's necessarily about size. They do have a saying, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, it's about the size of the fight in the dog. And I think that's exactly what it means for us, like on November the 15th.
I think this one's quite. Yeah, I think this question here is quite, a short one. It's simple. Why do you beat Stevie Lee on November 15th? How does that look like in your head?
I would say when I fight, I adapt, and I'm always looking for openings. So it's mainly going to be a game of adapting and finding openings.
Notoriously, you're quite, you're a quick finisher. Obviously quick starter as well. Would with the the Cage Warriors presence being on this one, is there a sense in your head that you would like to go out there and put a statement against Stevie Lee?
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to go out there and perform the best I can. I mean, despite everything happening outside the ring, the cage warriors, the belt, it's not really anything that I look at when I go into a fight. I mainly look at my opponent in front of me and the job that needs to get done.
Absolutely. I want to talk about if you're victorious on November 15th. You mentioned there what comes with that. The Cage Warriors contract. We talked about before we went on there. You only started your career maybe a year and a half ago. That's a very quick rise. What would it mean for you to kind of secure that contract on November 15th? You win the belt, you beat Stevie Lee, you get the Cage Warriors contract, you're looking to make your debut then. What would that mean for you and obviously your family? That pretty much that's everyone who you do it for.
Yeah, it would be a blessing in disguise. Like those are the words that I can honestly use because for me, it's been a journey considering where I've come from to even have this platform now to speak, and to be here where I'm at, it will be a journey.
Yeah, I want to look. Fans that probably don't know Taz, and maybe never seen Taz speak or fight. What is that journey that you're speaking about there? Where did you come from?
I'm talking about a journey from coming from humble beginnings, such as, Africa, like, the lowest of the lowest, third world country, and, arising to be here, to be MMA fighter and to eventually go pro to Cage Warriors. Like that would be a journey, it would be a story and a half.
Absolutely. Hopefully, that's one day that or hopefully one day you'll be able to kind of paint that picture in Cage Warriors. Taz, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. Machine MMA 45, November 15th. Stevie Lee versus Taz Makawa. It's going to be a fantastic event. Make sure you're there. Get your tickets because they're going to go really fast. We've got a ferocious main event between two rising prospects at lightweight. Make sure you catch it. Taz, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.